does estate sales. Call for more information. Come to Stevens Auction Company, 2796 Pine Log Road in Warrenville, South Carolina.
Toasted marshmallows in the summer, that's comfort food. Toasty Tootsies in the winter, that's all around comfort you and your family will appreciate every day. When cold winter winds whistle, Styles Heating and Cooling keeps you and your loved ones comfy and warm. Styles fixes it right the first time. Seasons change, but here's one thing that doesn't change and won't change. Styles' commitment to your complete satisfaction for all your comfort needs. See us at stylesair.com.
Join us right here on WRDW for Warren, A Way of Life, every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Connect with us for a time of worship, prayer, and Bible study with Pastor David McKinley.
Watch 1226 on your side, wherever you go. Live from Augusta, you're watching News 12 live at 5.
A deadly accident takes the life of a man known as a friend, husband, and father. 30-year-old Richard Faber died Friday night after a head-on crash on Mike Paget Highway.
Tonight, Faber's family is working to cope with this unimaginable heartbreak.
His wife, Carrie Ann, is expecting their second child early next year. Our Hallie Turner joins us now live in our newsroom. And Hallie, you spoke with Carrie Ann. How is she doing this evening?
Well, as you can imagine, Carrie Ann and their entire family are devastated. Not only was Richard a son, brother, father, and best friend, he was a Navy veteran who wanted nothing more than to serve his country and be a father. Carrie Ann says the accident plays over and over again in her head. They were on the way back home from Spirit of Halloween, getting their 6-year-old son's costume and a scary mask for Rich. Carrie Ann says Michael and Rich were inseparable, so his plan was to dress up again this year, walk him up and down the street, but he never made it back to their driveway. She says she and their son were in front of the car that was in front of Rich when a pair of headlights began coming closer and raced by her.
And he zooms past me, and I immediately look at my rear view because I was gonna be like, man, I was looking to see where they had gone, and I noticed Rich's headlights were no longer behind me. And so I start panicking. I call him. He didn't answer. And so I turned around, and all I can remember is the whole time I was trying to call him, and I remember saying, please, please.
And unfortunately, Rich did not make it back home, but Carrie Ann says he's left her with the greatest gift. And coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we're learning more about that special gift.
All right, thank you, Hallie, and certainly our hearts go out to everybody impacted by just a terrible situation here.
Gosh, I can't imagine not seeing his headlights and then knowing likely what has just happened. Oh, so awful.
Well, it has been another cloudy and cool afternoon for us. High temperatures today remaining in the low 70s for us here in Augusta. A short drive over towards the Central Plains, though. We're looking at highs in the mid-90s this afternoon. So thankfully, we still have those wedge conditions in place. Right now, we still have that northeast wind, pretty good cloud cover across most of the area, which is really keeping our temperatures well below average this afternoon. You can see once you get outside of that wedge front, though, the wind direction does change near the Mississippi River, and they are seeing high temps in the 90s out there this afternoon. Here's a look at our visible satellite. We are starting to see clearer skies than what we did have earlier today, so fairly cloudy start, and actually starting to see those skies break up a little bit, but we'll likely hang on to at least mostly cloudy conditions this evening. Tonight, temperature is going to hold steady in the 70s through at least sunset, and then we'll eventually work our way back down into the 60s and possibly even upper 50s by daybreak tomorrow morning. So it will be a pleasant start to our Friday. If you are going to be up early, it may not be a bad idea to have a light jacket on, but temperatures will warm up a little bit more tomorrow. Heading home from school for our Friday afternoon, we are looking at high temps, so most likely at least be in the 80s for us. 83 is what we're going with for us here in Augusta tomorrow afternoon, so not feeling too bad. Definitely a little bit warmer than what we've seen over the past couple of days. Expecting dry conditions Friday, and we're expecting nicer weather to move in for the weekend. We'll have a full look at that in just a bit, but let's get a quick update on your First Alert traffic.
And now, First Alert traffic.
All right, here's a look at Riverwatch Parkway I-20. Have not seen too many traffic concerns here at the moment. Just outside of our building, you can see a good bit of traffic on Riverwatch Parkway, but it appears to be moving okay, and no major slowdowns that we're looking at on I-20. Going out between Wheeler Road and the Bel Air Road exits here on I-20, so the west side of Augusta, traffic moving okay in those eastbound and westbound lanes. Still some cloudy skies overhead, but bringing back a little bit more sun for that weekend outlook. We'll have a look at in just about 10 minutes.
Thanks, Riley. A suspect is dead after a manhunt in Charleston. For more than 12 hours, multiple agencies were searching for an armed and dangerous suspect that caused several schools to close and people to shelter in their homes. This all starting after a shooting last night that left 2 people hurt, including a Charleston County deputy. 38-year-old Ernest Burbridge III was wanted for attempted murder in connection to 2 separate shootings in the Johns Island area. At around 3:30, authorities confirmed Burbridge is dead. No word on how he died. The deputy that was shot is expected to recover, and we will continue to follow this story.
We're learning more about a Labor Day crash that killed 5 teenagers in Atlanta. Investigators say 20-year-old Emmanuel Estefani was in a vehicle racing another teen driver and going more than 100 miles an hour around 4 o'clock that morning. Estefani allegedly swerved to avoid a truck and hit the other racing vehicle, causing it to roll over a retention wall and then fall nearly 40 feet. All 5 passengers in that vehicle died, the youngest being 16, the oldest only 19. Estefani is currently facing a dozen charges, including 5 counts of first-degree homicide by vehicle. He turned himself into the jail Tuesday.
Georgia Representative Hank Johnson reintroducing a bill that would impose an 18-year term limit on Supreme Court justices. But since Article 3 of the Constitution grants justices tenure for life, under this proposed bill, justices would go into something called senior status.
Justices would remain justices. They just would go on senior status, and they would be removed from handling the everyday matters that come before the court. They would be like reserved justices. They would be on the payroll. They would still be Supreme Court justices, but they would be in senior status.
Johnson argues that all states except Rhode Island have term limits on state Supreme Court judges. The U.S. and Iceland are the only countries in the world that appoint Supreme Court justices for life.
Today marks 1 year since Hurricane Ian made landfall in the United States. It hit Florida with the power of a Category 4 storm. Here at home, the storm just brought some rain and wind, but in Florida, where it made landfall, 152 people were killed. Tens of thousands others were affected by the record-breaking storm surges along Florida's coast. The storm caused an estimated $115 billion in damages, making it the 3rd costliest natural disaster in U.S. history.
Well, should businesses be required to accept cash payments? It's a discussion happening in Atlanta right now as more and more businesses are moving to a card-only payment model. This can be for a variety of reasons, including saving money and increasing safety by not having cash on hand that can be stolen. But Atlanta council members believe people deserve the option to pay in cash and want to follow the lead of other cities in the U.S. to require businesses to take cash payments. New York City, Philadelphia, and San Francisco have banned cashless businesses already.
Many of us have eaten a school lunch at some point in our lives. The same experience hundreds of thousands of South Carolina students can now share. 120 million meals are consumed in South Carolina schools every year.
As State House reporter Mary Green explains, some major changes are being considered at the State House right now that could impact who oversees school nutrition services across South Carolina.
A few weeks ago, a committee here at the State House heard from the South Carolina Department of Education, which oversees the state's school nutrition program. It explained this is complicated work, especially where federal dollars and federal requirements come in. But the State Department of Agriculture expressed confidence it would be able to take this work on.
You'll get a pledge from the South Carolina agricultural team to bring its expertise, its enthusiasm, and its expectations of how the food in front of the school children of South Carolina can be the best that we can provide.
Agriculture Commissioner Hugh Weathers made the case that his department already
has experience overseeing some federally funded food programs, but he says this isn't just about compliance. Weathers argues putting school meals under the Department of Agriculture would ensure students have more access to locally sourced food and produce and improve child nutrition. He says this would also help out a key component of South Carolina's economy, its farmers.
There's sort of a stigma, if you will, among farmers that doing business with the schools is such a thin margin that it's not profitable. It's our job to convince them.
What the Department of Agriculture still say, you know what, we got to think about what's best for these kids first versus everything else, versus business, versus whatever. Will y'all be talking about the children first versus everything else?
That is our pledge to you.
And if South Carolina chooses to implement this change, it would become just the 5th state in the nation to have its school meals program under its agriculture department. Reporting from the State House, I'm Mary Green.
In this committee will have to have its recommendations sent to the General Assembly by January 1st of next year. Well, family hoping to get more eyes on a decades-old cold case out of Georgia. We'll break down what investigators still don't know and how the family is pushing for justice. Riley?
Well, we do look to stay dry over the next several days, and temperatures are looking very comfortable. We'll have a look at that full forecast just after break.
All new on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we're taking you here to Strom Thurmond High School, where family, friends, and colleagues are remembering English teacher Jacqueline Ballard.
Welcome back, folks. Here's a live look from our Thurmond Dam cam looking over Clarks Hill, and we actually have a sailboat out there enjoying a beautiful afternoon. We got a guy fishing as well, and a great afternoon to get outside. We are looking at cloudy conditions, and temperature is definitely a lot cooler than average for the end of September. 71 degrees is what we're currently at here in town. Good steady northeast wind again today, just helping us keep those temperatures well below normal. We do have a little bit of sunshine up at the lake at the moment, but we actually have fairly cloudy skies most of the day. This was a time lapse we actually captured from our Thurmond Dam cam earlier today, so you can see those cloudy skies finally did start to break up this afternoon, and you can see actually higher level clouds kind of creating shadows on that lower level kind of stratocumulus cloud cover. So pretty cool views up at the lake today. Looking to stay nice for any lake plans you have over the next couple of afternoons. If you are going to be out there this evening, temperatures will likely stay in the 70s the next hour or two and then fall into the 60s once we get into later tonight. Eventually by tomorrow morning, I think most spots should be near 60 degrees. Some spots lucky enough to hit the upper 50s. Others will stay 60 to 62 degrees out there for the first part of our Friday morning. So a comfortable start, maybe a little bit cool for some of us. Not a bad idea to maybe have some long sleeves on for the first part of the day. We should see a little bit more sunshine Friday. Still going to hang on to some clouds, but a little bit of blue sky mixed in there at times, and that should allow our high temps to at least hit the low 80s tomorrow afternoon. So a little bit warmer out there than what we've seen the past few days. You can see cloudy skies stick with us this evening, and as we head into much later tonight, they'll likely break up some, and that should allow those temps to get comfortable in the upper 50s by daybreak tomorrow. For Friday afternoon, once again, highs in the 80s, so a good bit warmer than what we've seen over the past couple of afternoons, but looking to stay completely dry all the way through the weekend, which is good news for our high school football games tomorrow night. Kickoff temps mid-70s, and we'll fall into the 60s towards the second half, and just a few passing clouds out there and fairly calm winds. What we are looking forward to is that actually later tonight we actually do have the full harvest moon rising in the eastern sky. So moonrise tonight at 7:06 p.m. Remember, if you can catch it just within an hour or so after moonrise, that's when it kind of gives that moon illusion where it looks a lot bigger than it actually is. We are going to have some clouds out there this evening, possibly even tomorrow evening, so may not be the best forecast for checking this out, but you definitely will be able to see this shining through that cloud cover overnight. Here's our lake forecast over the next couple of days, and I just was checking lake temperatures. They're actually down to 77 degrees, so they actually dropped down a couple degrees over the last 24 hours, just thanks to cloudy skies and cooler temps. We should see a little bit warmer afternoons over the next couple of days. Highs near 80 up at Clarks Hill Friday, 82 Saturday. That wind direction is not going to change. Should stay steady out of the northeast all the way through next week. Here's our weekend planner here in Augusta. A little bit warmer Saturday, 85 for a high, and then staying near 83 for our Sunday afternoon. Partly cloudy Saturday, a little bit more sunshine on Sunday. Looking ahead to next week, it looks like we'll hang on to low temps in the 50s, afternoon highs in the low 80s, and plenty of sunshine past Saturday.
Thanks, Riley. Tomorrow marks 24 years since the body of Elaine Nix was found in a ditch outside of Atlanta. She went missing 9 days earlier on September 20th, 1999.
Her family still hoping for answers tonight. No arrests have been made, and there is no suspect. Tori Cooper spoke with the family, who says they're fighting to keep Elaine's memory alive as they fight for justice.
Dear Heavenly Father.
This is Jennifer Boyd saying a prayer at the gravesite of her childhood friend, Jacqueline Elaine Nix, 13 years ago. But this September,
Dear Lord, forgive us for all our sins.
someone else was there to pray with her too.
Dear Lord, if you could just help us out with Elaine's case, dear Lord.
It was her friend's brother, David Nix, who said the prayer this time around for his sister who went missing on September 20th, 1999.
Well, my birthday's in September, and it's never a good birthday because you have to relive this every year.
Nick says on the night that Elaine vanished, she received an angry message on her pager from her then boyfriend and quickly headed to a payphone on Candler Road in Hall County to call him and talk about it. Investigators say this payphone is where Elaine Nix placed her last phone call to her then boyfriend 24 years ago. Now, it's no longer here. But investigators say that phone call lasted 2 hours, and the next day they found her abandoned car right here. 9 days later, they found her body in Gwinnett County.
Yeah, phone records prove that she was on the phone for a little bit over an hour. He won't tell us what they talk about.
Nix's naked body was found in a wooded area. Investigators say there were no signs of trauma, and she wasn't raped. But family members say an autopsy ruled her death an undetermined homicide.
We were told that could be a possibility, either suffocation or strangulation.
24 years later, no arrests have been made, and the prayer remains the same.
Dear Lord, just speak to the one who's done this and lay it heavy on their heart just to come forward, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Now, police say this is still an open case, and they are still looking for new leads.
An elementary school principal credited with saving a man's life. Just ahead, how he's being honored.
First Alert Radio.
A Gwinnett County principal saving a man's life after he went into cardiac arrest earlier this month. As a show of thanks, this principal had the honor of throwing the opening pitch to the daughter of the man he saved.
That's awesome. Joshua Skinner shows us this heartwarming story.
One of the signs that fall is here is softball on a weekday evening. But this softball game at North Gwinnett High is about more than just softball. In many ways, it was a battle between arch rivals Mill Creek and North Gwinnett. But this game is most notable for what happened before it. You see, this is Megan Sen, and this is Level Creek Elementary Principal Daniel Skelton. And he's being recognized for saving the life of Megan's father, Matt, during a fishing trip.
We always fish in the Chattahoochee, and trout are what we go for.
We're about 4 minutes in. This is the second one Matt's hooked.
He said he was having some heartburn, said he had a biscuit that didn't agree with him.
When Matt's condition worsened, Daniel took him home.
A couple of minutes later, he just slumped over.
Matt went into cardiac arrest. Daniel immediately began life-saving maneuvers.
Mr. Skelton performed CPR until paramedics are able to arrive, and by all accounts, is credited with saving Matt's life.
A certain number of folks at every school have to be trained, and I'm certainly glad that I was one of them.
Matt is home now, although he said he's not ready to talk on camera. And for Megan, now a UGA junior, she got to introduce her father to her favorite teacher.
It's Mr. Weeks!
Although our cameras struggled to catch Daniel's first pitch, circumstantial evidence proves it was not a strike.
There may be a little bit of dirt on the ball. I would like to add that I at least hit home plate.
Maybe Megan, a former North Gwinnett pitcher, could give Daniel some pointers.
It was awful. I'm not an underhand thrower.
For now, everyone is all smiles, proving beyond a reasonable doubt that Daniel came in clutch when it really mattered.
Matt and his daughter are super close. I'm glad that she's here with him. I'm glad that he's here with her. I never thought I'd save a life directly.
And I think that this story just goes to show that CPR is so important and can make such a difference. And he did that, until paramedics could arrive there.
Our general manager, Mike Oates, was saved by CPR. He was exercising, running, and he just collapsed. And there just happened to be two people there who saw him, and they were able to perform CPR until paramedics arrived.
Yeah.
I mean, so you just never know whose life you might save and whose life you could impact.
Absolutely.
It really does. It's amazing stuff.
It's a great story there. Riley? All right, guys, it's Thursday, so we have our latest winner for the Plunkett Heating and Air Sunshade giveaway. A big congratulations to Richard Thigpen Sr. from Evans, Georgia. To get your own sunshade, just go to WRDW.com, click on contest, and you can enter your email right there. Now look at the forecast for you just after a short break.
It's a great time to get your lawn in shape with a new mower from Davis Appliance and Furniture. We offer no credit needed financing and delivery options to meet your needs. For the brands you trust at the lowest prices in town, visit us at Davis Appliance and Furniture.
This is
It's the perfect time to update your living space with a new sofa and love seat set from Davis Appliance and Furniture. Or update your indoor appliances with no credit needed financing. For the brands you trust at the lowest prices in town, visit us at Davis Appliance and Furniture.
Well, we are finally starting to see a few breaks in the clouds up towards our Thurman Dam cam, looking over Clarksville Lake. A beautiful afternoon there. Temperatures are well below average. Usually the end of September, our average highs are in the mid-80s. We're about 15 degrees cooler than that. Currently at 71 degrees here in Augusta with a good northeast wind staying steady, close to 10 miles an hour across most areas. Other temperatures, if you are heading out soon, 72 in Aiken, 76 in Edgefield. So you can see where they've had a little bit more sunshine. They've been able to warm up a little bit more than us here in Augusta. Going a little bit further south, upper 70s in Gibson, Waynesboro, Bamberg, and a little bit cooler there in Sylvania, currently at 70, and Millen only at 69 degrees this afternoon. High temperatures over the next couple of days do look to be a little bit warmer for us. We'll likely stay in the 80s for high temps Friday through this weekend, even early next week. It looks like we are going to be in a pretty persistent weather pattern that's going to bring us lows near 60 and afternoon highs in the 80s for the next 7 days. For our high school football games tomorrow night, kickoff temps should be in the mid-70s. We'll be comfortable. Once the sun goes down, those temperatures will be falling off into the 60s, so it may not be a bad idea to have a light jacket tomorrow evening. Looking ahead at our weekend outlook here in Augusta, we got highs in the mid-80s Saturday, Sunday. A little bit more sun Sunday relative to Saturday, but still a very nice weekend on tap. Next week looks just as good with those cool mornings in the 50s.
All right, thanks, Riley. Stick with us. We have more news, weather, and sports coming up after a very short break as News 12 Live at 5 continues.